I always give all his credit, no, but we need to run it back. That's why my tough when after the fight I say we need to run it back this fight because I don't feel the way I really want, uh, and I need to make this fight happen again, no, and it's gonna be different. I think for him to deserve all the credit, he need to give me the rematch, obviously. But I will. He decided to retire, and we need to accept that and move forward.
You know what? Sometimes you try and your body cannot go, right? That's my frustration. Maybe I can figure out Crawford, but my body cannot go anymore. So I try it, but my body just not let me go.
I have a burning question for you that I think everyone wants to know. Is there going to be a Canelo rematch? Is there a rematch clause? That's something you're thinking about?
I'm not even thinking about that right now. And quite frankly, I don't think it is a rematch clause. And if it is, nothing has been said to me about fighting them again or anything.
Do you think Canelo would want to get back in the ring with you? Or do you think it's better for him to just or more lucrative to go fight elsewhere for the rest of his career?
I don't know. I think it would be better for him to fight somebody else, because my style is just,
Terence Crawford is no longer speaking quietly about the situation. His message is loud and unmistakable. After putting on one of the most commanding displays of his entire career, Crawford has made it clear that he has no interest in accepting sudden demands or late conditions coming from Canelo Alvarez's side. The conversation about a rematch is getting louder by the day, but Crawford refuses to get caught up in the chatter or the explanations being thrown around. In his eyes, the mystery has already been figured out. He believes he has decoded the style, uncovered the openings, and proven to everyone watching that he possesses the intelligence and the skill set required to dismantle a fighter as dangerous and experienced as Canelo in a brutal showdown. Not simply survive inside the ring, but dictate the pace and control the fight from start to finish. For Crawford, this moment represents far more than adding another victory to his record. It carries a deeper meaning tied to respect, reputation, and proving his greatness beyond any doubt. And if Canelo is serious about stepping back into the ring for another battle, Crawford stands ready to erase every possible excuse and make it absolutely clear who truly holds the power in this rivalry.
For Canelo Alvarez fight?
Yeah, I did.
Whoo, talk about slick. Oh my goodness. Who's ever done that? Who's ever jumped up 2 weight classes like that? It's crazy.
Scary.
He's so clever, and it got to the point where he got so comfortable, he's like pit-patting him, and then whap, and then like, what?
Bop, bop, bop.
And you're
like,
you're
wow.
watching, like, this is amazing.
Like, that's history, obviously. You shouldn't be able to do that. You shouldn't be able to fight at that weight for the first time ever.
Against one of the greatest
greatest of all time, and do what you did. You're beyond it.
Terence Crawford achieved something many believed would never happen, stepping across several weight divisions to challenge a naturally larger opponent in Saul Canelo Alvarez, and what first looked like a dangerous gamble quickly became a brilliant performance. Crawford didn't spend the fight moving away or just trying to survive. He stood firm in front of Canelo and delivered a high-level boxing display using smart angles perfectly timed, counters, and elite defense that kept the super middleweight champion uncomfortable throughout the entire fight, leaving Canelo confused, frustrated, and struggling to adjust inside the ring. But the most memorable moment arrived after the final bell during the press conference, where there were no excuses, no complaints, and no attempts to shift the blame. Canelo accepted the result with calm honesty, openly admitting that he could not figure out the puzzle standing in front of him, and he even went further by saying that Crawford was a more difficult challenge for him than Floyd Mayweather Jr., which was a powerful and rare statement coming from a champion of Canelo's level, showing pure respect that was clear, direct, and impossible for anyone to ignore.
For me, champ, in the world of comparisons that we live in right now, if you can compare and contrast the fight between yourself and Floyd Mayweather Jr. and tonight's bout with Terence Bud Crawford, if you can.
No, I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
4 months after the fight, the name Floyd Mayweather Jr. was part of the respect Canelo showed, but only a short time later that respectful attitude seems to have completely changed. Saul Canelo Alvarez has spoken about the defeat again, and this time the explanation sounds very different from what fans heard on fight night. Now Canelo says his own body let him down, claiming severe leg cramps destroyed his movement, that an elbow injury later required surgery, and that mentally he was not fully locked. In When the Fight Happened, the boxing world rarely stays quiet when a story shifts like this, and the reaction has been immediate across the internet. Debates are everywhere, with many fans comparing the situation to Deontay Wilder and the famous costume excuse after his loss. The contrast stands out especially for a fighter who built his reputation on taking responsibility and avoiding excuses, but the story did not stop there. Canelo has now pushed for a second fight, appearing on a podcast and saying that if Terence Crawford truly wants complete respect, the rivalry should be settled again in September. However, the reality is far more complicated because their original contract never included a rematch clause. Crawford purposely avoided both a rematch option and even a rehydration limit because he wanted the victory to come without controversy. He wanted Canelo at full strength with no conditions, no questions, and no excuses, and with Crawford already planning to retire in December 2025. Canelo is now looking for negotiating power that simply does not exist. The agreement is finished, the result is official, and the chance to change that moment in history may already be gone.
He's given a lot of credit. There's no rehydration clause, blah, blah. Oh my God, Bud's such a fighter. I'm up here making the argument, see, no excuses. He doesn't need a Mayweather rehydration clause. But really, why did he do all that? Because if you want the shot, you got to do it according to Canelo's terms.
Yes.
He still beat Canelo comprehensively and decisively. In the rematch, Crawford would be within his rights to say, okay, wait a minute. Now there's going to be a rehydration clause. Now there are going to be some things that favor me. And once that happens, it's just going to get worse for Canelo.
I wouldn't like that with Crawford's legacy. I don't think I know, but his character.
If you were Canelo, if you were Crawford, like, I understand what you mean. I already proved my point the first time. All right, you want the rematch? Okay, but now it's going to be on my conditions.
Maybe different money terms. Say you want parity and money, which obviously never has been with Canelo, stuff like that.
See, that's my thing. You begging for this fight, and you go on these shows.
I don't think he's begging for it either.
He's not begging.
I've never.
You know what? Shady loves to say that. Oh, why did coverage or why do you get into it with fighters? You know why? Because I interact with the fighters. Let's get Canelo here, and then you say this to Canelo.
Most fighters would jump straight back into the ring the moment a massive payday appeared, but Terence Crawford has never followed the usual path. Reports circulating behind the scenes say that Saudi boxing financier Turki Al-Sheikh placed a staggering $100 million proposal on the table, hoping to convince Bud to step in for another blockbuster fight. For almost any athlete on the planet, that kind of money would end the conversation instantly with a signature on the contract and a worldwide press tour beginning the next day. Crawford's response was the complete opposite. He simply declined. The decision immediately sent a wave of surprise through the entire boxing community because opportunities like that almost never get turned down. Crawford explained that there are things more important to him than adding another enormous payment to his bank account. In his view, the story he leaves behind in the sport and the values he stands by mean far more than chasing another massive check. At a time when huge purses often control the direction of fighters' careers, Crawford just delivered a powerful reminder that not every champion is driven by money alone, and sometimes protecting your legacy matters more than the biggest offer imaginable.
For me, don't even talk to me about it. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I like to hear. Basically, let me translate, because we know Crawford don't like to do too much trash talking. He likes to keep it clean. What Crawford is saying to Canelo, the price on your head for a rematch is $100 million because he already collected it last time. So is not going to go with the rematch. Talk is cheap. With Crawford being the A side, with Crawford getting the lion's share, with Crawford getting fair judges, mainly, Canelo is going to say, hell nah, to the no rematch. Telling you, he's going to start speaking English again. We haven't heard Canelo speak English for a minute now, I think. As soon as they show Canelo Alvarez the realistic terms on the contract for the rematch, he's gonna wake.
The real reason Terence Crawford walked away from an enormous payday is far from glamorous. It is raw and brutally honest. When the topic of a possible second fight with Saul Canelo Alvarez came up, Bud explained something very clearly. The 36 minutes inside the ring under the bright lights are not what worry him. The true battle happens long before the opening bell. What drains a fighter the most is the relentless grind of training camp. Weeks stretching into months of exhausting sparring. Sessions, strict weight control, endless conditioning drills, and constant physical punishment. Preparing to face a naturally bigger opponent forces his body to operate beyond safe limits again and again, and that pressure does not simply vanish after the final bell, it stays with you. Crawford knows that every camp leaves damage behind. Every preparation for war adds more wear and tear that no amount of money can truly repair. So instead of chasing one final massive check, he is thinking about the bigger picture, choosing his long-term health, his peace of mind, and the chance to enjoy life with his family without being haunted by constant pain long after the arena lights are gone.
It happened, but boxing is a sport where you can outpoint somebody too. That's why they go to the scorecards.
I appreciate that take, bro. That's real educated, man, real thoughtful. But you ain't had a decision win in a long time, bro. You known for like being a great finisher. So I appreciate that. But that ain't how you moving though.
Right.
Please explain that to me. You just saying overall.
Yeah, overall.
You say, hey, I like to do this, but this is not for everybody.
It's definitely not, because it's a price to pay. It's definitely a price to pay when you fight those type of fights.
Yeah.
When everybody thinks nothing going on. But all them punches add up.
Yeah, buddy.
All them punches add up.
He ain't got a bruise or nothing.
Yeah.
He didn't take no punishments. Like, bro, my head hurt.
Your head hurt.
I'm in this room right now trying to get right, and y'all chilling, partying downstairs.
Yeah. Like all them punches add up. Punches in sparring add up. All them punches add up, and when one is good one day, and then it just all hit him out of the blue. He ain't even boxing no more. It just hit him, and then people be like, "Man, you all right, man? What's wrong with you?"
You never know when that's gonna happen.
You never know. It's gonna come.
Yeah.
But
Stay
you never
around
know.
long enough. Yeah.
And it's just like, dang. You know what I mean? Is you all right? Yeah, I'm good. You might start slurring a little bit. You might start forgetting a lot of things.
Yeah.
You might get a little dementia. You might keep repeating the same thing over and over, and you don't even know it, But that's from all that accumulation of punches to the brain.
But I know you probably have too. I done been in the presence of fighters, bro, where that stuff is happening. And I'm like, where they say something to you and they just told you 2-3 minutes earlier, you like, brother, you just said that.
Definitely.
That's scary to me.
Instead of jumping into a public exchange, Terence Crawford has taken a far stronger approach, complete silence, while Saul Canelo Alvarez continues appearing on podcasts, sharing his perspective, and revisiting the defeat. Bud has not answered a single remark, not one headline, not one criticism, and that quiet response speaks louder than any interview ever could. Critics are frustrated because there is nothing for them to twist, nothing new to debate, and nothing that can spark another round of controversy. Crawford simply refuses to participate in the noise. Right after securing his historic victory, he looked toward the crowd and asked what more can they possibly say now, and when that moment is remembered today, it carries even greater weight. By choosing not to trade words, he keeps the high ground and allows the unanimous decision victory to represent the final statement on its own, without drama, without distractions, while Canelo is left continuing the conversation with nothing but the echo coming back.
I think everyone wants to know, is there going to be a Canelo rematch? Is there a rematch clause? That's something you're thinking about?
I'm not even thinking about that right now. And quite frankly, I don't think it is a rematch clause. And if it is, nothing has been said to me about fighting them again or anything.
Do you think Canelo would want to get back in the ring with you, or do you think it's better for him to just or more lucrative to go fight elsewhere for the rest of his career?
I think it would be better for him to fight somebody else, because my style is just, a bad matchup for him. Now, financially wise, I would be like, yeah, he should fight me. But like on the outside looking in, knowing boxing, you can really get hurt. So I would just tell him, like, if you're going to continue to fight, don't get in the ring with a guy like me.
Yeah. There's a popular adage in sports, kind of gets reused over again. It's kind of cliche. Father Time is undefeated. 38 years old. We see a lot of athletes now go into the late 30s and 40s and produce at a high level. How much longer do you want to do this?
I don't know.
No clue yet? Did beating Canelo make you think about those next steps in any way, or?
Before Canelo, I was thinking about a lot, and I'm still thinking about a lot. I just haven't made my final decision. But once I make it, I'm going to make it.
Beneath the headlines and constant debate, there is a deeper concern many dedicated boxing fans cannot ignore, and it helps explain why Terence Crawford shows no desire to return for another fight. Across platforms like Reddit, and different boxing community supporters are openly talking about the complicated politics that often surround the sport. Saul Canelo Alvarez is still viewed as the biggest financial attraction in boxing, and with his own promotional business continuing to grow, his importance to the business side of the industry is massive. That reality leaves some fans uncomfortable because they fear that if Crawford accepted a rematch, the system could lean heavily toward protecting the sport's most valuable star. Many believe that even if Crawford delivered another brilliant performance, it might not guarantee the same result the second time around. Some argue that scorecards could tell a completely different story if it meant safeguarding Canelo's reputation and massive Earning power, whether that suspicion is fair or not, the feeling clearly exists among parts of the fanbase, and from Crawford's point of view, there is little motivation to step back into a situation where forces outside the ring might carry more influence than the fight happening inside it.
He could beat Crawford, because Crawford, is very talented, but I think Canelo could beat him. Canelo's strong, man. Canelo's strong. Canelo could take a good punch. So I think he could just go and don't respect his punch and throw punches even though you're gonna get hit. But don't give up. Keep going until you hit him. I think rematch with Canelo would be the best thing for him to do.
But picture this for a moment. If Terence Crawford chose to come out of retirement and face Saul Canelo Alvarez again in 2026, the anticipation alone would make it one of the most talked about fights in recent boxing history, yet analysts are already issuing serious cautionary notes. This matchup could turn into a nightmare for Canelo. Their first fight was never really close. Crawford dictated the pace from bell to bell, winning rounds with pinpoint accuracy, as Wade Plemon pointed out a second. Meeting probably wouldn't shift the outcome. It's likely to unfold in much the same way, with Canelo struggling once more to solve the puzzle of a fighter who has already shown he holds all the answers.
Alvarez are apparently in talks for a rematch in 2026, and my only question is why? Why? Outside of a massive payday, the first fight wasn't necessarily a competitive fight, and if they do it again, I think it's going to be less competitive. I don't think this is going to go very well for one Saul.
Wade didn't mince words, calling out the recurring issues that keep appearing in Canelo's fights, regardless of who steps in the ring. He pointed to the Mexican star's tendency to stand too flat-footed, his restricted movement, and his relatively low volume of punches. These flaws were impossible to miss during the first clash with Crawford, who capitalized on every gap and opportunity on fight night. According to Wade, Canelo has a long way to go in training before even considering a rematch. Meanwhile, Crawford's path is much clearer. He already understands precisely what it takes to defeat him.
I don't know how this goes well for Canelo in a rematch. Honestly, you look at the first fight, and the things that plagued Canelo were essentially the things that plague him against most boxers. His flat feet, his lack of movement, his lack of volume. He couldn't get to Terence. He was overextending. He was getting caught with counter shots as he overextended. The big shown around, memed, and replayed moment of the fight is Canelo trying to throw a hook and a right hand, and Terence Crawford slipping on the outside and banging the left hand counter behind it. Canelo was beaten to the punch from distance. He was beaten in exchanges, and even in points in the fight, he was beaten inside by Terence Crawford. This was I wouldn't say dominant, but I would say more one-sided than I thought win for Terence Crawford, where he flat out outboxed Canelo, and he took Canelo's power. Like, there were times where Canelo landed the big right hand, and Terence Crawford took it. So what would be different if they fought again? The only different thing that potentially could happen would be in Canelo's hands. He would have to find ways to be different, and as much as I would love to believe that's possible, Canelo getting up there in age, I understand Terence Crawford is older, but Terence Crawford already fights at a way that's advantageous versus Canelo. He doesn't really have to change much, and he's fighting up a couple of weight classes from where he normally did, so he doesn't have to really worry about a weight cut either, and he's filled into that weight class because he looked just as big, if not bigger, that Canelo Alvarez did. On fight,
Wade emphasized that the only way Canelo could hope to overcome Bud Crawford is by arriving in the ring at the very height of his abilities. He pointed to one of Canelo's past performances, arguably among his best. As the standard to meet, Wade made it clear that for a rematch to have any chance of success, Canelo would need to correct every mistake from their first encounter and step into the ring operating at full power against Bud.
Canelo could and should and would do differently for this fight is he would have to fight Terence Crawford like he fought Sergey Kovalev at 175. That's genuinely what he would have to do. He'd have to be lighter on his feet, he'd have to throw more combinations, and he'd have to be quicker with his hands, as he was in that fight. And I'm not saying that he changes everything about himself. Canelo had success in moments with Bud Crawford, but that's what he would have to do, and some, right? He would have to be able to add layers to his game and not be so flat-footed. And if he's going to combination punch, he's got to do so in the fire with Terence Crawford, which going into the first fight, I didn't think Terence Crawford was going to have as much success with his combination punching because he'd have to be in front of the powerful hands of Canelo, but again, he was able to do so off the back foot and front because Canelo threw one at a time. He threw the jab or the right hand, or he threw the hook right hand, and again, Terence Crawford remained mostly southpaw, which does give Canelo problems because now he has to lead with his backhand versus punctuate with it, and his jab gets neutralized, and it's just a mess of a fight for Canelo. It really is. I don't hate that he wants to get that back, and the matchup itself is, again, one of the only ones that Canelo can still have. Make a shit ton of money and potentially not.
Still, Wade remains certain that Canelo stands very little chance of defeating Crawford in a rematch. When pressed for his prediction, he was blunt and direct. Terence Crawford, he said, would dominate without question. Wade went on to explain that Crawford's style creates a near-perfect nightmare for Canelo and even suggested that the Mexican star might be wiser to accept the defeat and focus on moving forward rather than chasing a second fight.
And maybe you could say, listen, Canelo just needed to see him one time to figure out that puzzle, right? He figured out Triple G, was able to re-implement it in the rematch, and then the third fight, it was not even a great fight. Canelo just did what he wanted. But this is not the case, I don't think, with Crawford. I think Crawford just has a style that is really, really tough for Canelo. And I'll be honest, if they fought again, it would be more dominant for Terence Crawford. I truly think if in 2026 they book this rematch, I think Crawford dominates him even worse. And I'm not saying he stops Canelo, because I don't know if that's something that Terence could get at 168, because Canelo's chin has still really never been tested like that. Like, he didn't really get hurt in the Crawford fight. He just got outboxed. But maybe he potentially would be able to stop him. But I just think it would be more one-sided than we saw in the first fight, and would just reestablish that Terence Crawford is that fucking guy in this sport right now. The top guy, the head honcho in this sport, which is, I don't know. I mean, is it dangerous to Canelo's legacy to lose to the best of this era and the best of the era previously? I don't know. Like, did Canelo ever have an era where he was the best in the world? Maybe that's the question he's still trying to answer himself, and why he would want this rematch with Crawford. But when I see this news coming out of him wanting the rematch, having the elbow surgery, maybe in his mind going, okay, my elbow wasn't fresh, I wasn't able to turn my shots over, so that's why I can win this rematch. I like the competitive nature of it. I don't like the fight for it. I think the matchup's all wrong for Canelo. I think this style of fight, in terms of what Terence Crawford does well, is counterpunching off the front and back foot, his ability to go from range with his jab, be inside with it too, protect himself, catch counter with punches. He's got just a different timing than Canelo really has on his punches, and then you pair it with the volume that Terence Crawford can throw, and his feet, and his angle.
In the end, Terence Crawford executed the perfect strategy. He climbed to the top, toppled a giant, cemented his place in boxing history, and walked away with his legacy completely intact. His journey shows that sometimes the smartest move is to step back and let your opponent wrestle with their own challenges. The question now is whether Canelo risks tarnishing his legendary reputation with these late excuses, or if there's truly a rematch that Crawford owes the sport. Share your thoughts in the comments below. That's a wrap for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss our latest uploads. Drop your opinions down below, and stay tuned. We'll see you in the next one.